All right, guys, so color me shocked because here we have something I never thought I'd ever see. I remember I was on a Politicon panel with James Carville, and I made the arguments that I always make. And he was very hostile to the idea of Bernie Sanders being the future of the Democratic Party, or I should be clear and say Bernie Sanders' ideas being the future of the Democratic Party. Because remember, this is the guy who helped run Bill Clinton's campaign in 1992, and he, in some ways, he's the pioneer of the new Democrat strategy, the triangulation, which basically means Democrats agreed to start taking corporate money and be more like Republicans in order to win. And Bill Clinton did that, and he won. So conventional wisdom for a generation became, oh, Democrats need to run as centrists, as moderates, as still helping out corporate donors while doing tweaks around the edges to help regular people, right? But James Carville appears to have had some semblance of a change of heart watching Kamala Harris go down in flames. Now, some of his take and his criticism I don't really agree with. But other parts of it I think are spot on. So here we go. Look at this. This is quite an admission.
I think Senator Sanders has some of a point here. And that is, there were things we could have run on harder that have effect. The minimum wage. It passes everywhere by 70%. I mean, I know that President Biden was for it and Harris was for it, but we didn't put it front and center. What about taxing the incomes over $400,000 and taking that money and put it in a first-time home buyer's mortgage relief fund? I mean, there were things that Senator Sanders would favor that we could have put more front and center. Now, there are a lot of things that are just popular that Democrats are for. They're popular with every kind of Democrat in the country. They also happen to be popular with independents and even some Republicans. And we should run on a popular thing. A popular thing was not continuing the Biden administration. That was clearly not what people wanted. I think he's a great guy, but people didn't want more of that, and that's what we gave him.
Damn. Never did I think he would ever give Bernie credit on anything. But look, his point is undeniable. When you look at these direct ballot initiatives in states all across the country, including in red states, oftentimes you have very clear progressive issues passed with like 60% or more of the vote. And even in red states, that happens a lot. Raising the minimum wage, paid time off actually passed recently in some states in the last election. And look, I will give him credit for one thing. He was a corporate Democrat triangulator, which I hate, but he was also the guy who gave us it's the economy, stupid, right? And so there is some semblance deep inside of this man. There is some semblance of an economic populist trying to get out. But I don't think he realizes that there's a little bit of a contradiction there between being a corporate Democrat and being a populist. It's hard to marry those two things together. Like, for example, this is a guy who's vehemently against Medicare for all. He's stated that over and over throughout the years. But James, the exact same reason you say, hey, run on raising the minimum wage is the exact same reason why you should also say run on universal health care, right? And the part that I think he misses, and I don't think any corporate Democrat will ever get this, is you genuinely need a politics of division. You need a politics of enemies. You need to portray yourself and your voters as the protagonists in a grand narrative, in a grand story, where you're taking on the evildoers who are dragging this nation down. And for Democrats and liberals and leftists, it has to be the billionaires, the multinational corporations, the big money donors who give so much money to politicians and then politicians represent them and screw over you. But look, take a dub where we can get one, man. This is a dub right here. This is James Carville, legendary corporate Democrat strategist, who's like, you know what, raising the minimum wage, maybe you should have put that front and center. That seems like a good idea. I think Bernie Sanders is right about some things. I think Bernie's right about some things. But the even more important point, and this is probably Kamala's fatal flaw, was when she literally didn't even try to distance herself from Biden even a little bit. I mean, that's really, in retrospect, that's the thing that I think everybody agrees on, that, you didn't distance yourself from Biden even a little bit. You had no answer when asked, what would you do differently? And that could have been, that is, no matter what else you say, you're also signing up as the status quo candidate in that respect. And so people went for Trump's anger and Trump's incorrect answers over no answers, right? And so that's how we ended up where we are. But it's a cold day in hell, y'all. It's a cold day in hell because James Carville just said something true. Now, he didn't bring it up in this clip, but there's also he's also been going around blaming wokeness. Look, take it from a guy who I'm on the left, and I have been categorized as an anti-woke leftist, right? That's how I've been viewed, is Kyle's an anti-woke leftist. Take it from somebody who's in that category. Wokeness did not lose this election for Democrats. It just didn't. Like I said, Kamala never mentioned race, never mentioned gender, never mentioned trans people or pronouns or Latinx or cancel culture or political correctness or anything that you would associate with wokeness. None of it was mentioned, and she lost. So you just can't blame wokeness. It makes absolutely no sense. And so he's wrong on that part of the analysis, but he's right on it's the economy, stupid, and minimum wage being front and center would have been a big thing. But more than that, is really about having a narrative and being angry, right? Trump believes in Trump. There's no denying that. And Trump is very angry. There's no denying that. And perhaps you need anger and you need something to believe in a narrative and a story. And people just weren't buying. They just didn't think Kamala was authentic and believed in much of anything, I don't think, right? So we could all Monday morning quarterback, which I'm sure we'll continue to do endlessly. But look, write it down. Write it down, because this matters. David Brooks, elite moderate, said, maybe Bernie was right. James Carville, yeah, maybe Bernie was right. Jen Psaki, yeah, maybe Bernie was right. There's people like John Favreau, the Pod Save Bro, some of them at times, yeah, maybe Bernie had a point, right? So you're getting a number of people now who are kind of waking up a little bit to the reality. But I will say that is counterbalanced with the exact same number of people, if not more, who are saying, let's just throw trans people under the bus and that's how we win. Like, Jesus Christ, that's dark and that's loathsome. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.